Hello everyone. Welcome to VLSA for All Special Edition Expert Talk. Today, we are very honored to have Professor Naresh Kumar Agarwal joining us for this session. To introduce about himself, he is a professor and director of Information Science and Technology Concentration at the School of Library and Information Science at Simmons University in Boston, USA. He received his PhD from the National University of Singapore. His teaching areas are technology and web development, theories of information science, knowledge management, evaluation of information sciences, and happiness and leadership as well. Professor Naresh Agarwal conducts research in the areas of human information behavior and knowledge management, the way people look for information, and the context that affects this seeking process. He has published more than 60 research papers in reputed journals and conference proceedings. His research has been cited almost 1,400 times as per Google Scholars. His first book, Exploring Context in Information Behavior, was published by Morgan and Claypool in 2018. His second book was published in 2021 as Engineering to Ikigai in South Asia and You Know the Glory, Not the Story internationally. He has been a keynote or invited speaker at workshops and conferences in the US, Japan, France, South Africa, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, and Iran. Professor Agarwal is the immediate past president of the Association for Information Science and Technology, or ASSIST. He also founded the South Asia chapter of ASSIST, ASIST. In 2018, he started an initiative called Project Oneness World, where he interviews people from different walks of life. And this keeps on going and going. If I continue speaking about Professor, he has experienced almost all aspects of life throughout his career. He is not just a professor, as I'm keep addressing him as professor. He's also an artist. He has a very good website where he has portrayed all his paintings, and there's a beautiful story behind those paintings as well. Once again, thank you, sir, for joining us today. We are very glad to have you with us.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. Thank you, and I'm glad and honored to be speaking with you today, as well as all the people who are listening.
Great, sir. So before delving into the session, I want, in fact, our audience also want you to introduce yourself. Although I've talked about your career, but we are very curious to hear it from you.
Thank you, Neeraj. So basically, I grew up in Sikkim in Gangtok, and I studied in a school called Tashi Namgyal Academy, which was a good public school in Sikkim, founded by the king of Sikkim, the Chogyal. And then in 1995, I got a scholarship to study in Singapore. So that's when I went to Nanyang Technological University in Singapore. They selected about 50 students from all over India to go to two universities. About half to the National University of Singapore, the other to NTU, where I studied, Nanyang Technological University. And then I did 4 years of engineering there, and then worked as a software engineer for 6 years in the industry. And after that, I thought that I should go for higher education, and that's what I was contemplating between an MBA and a PhD, and then finally decided on a PhD and did my PhD at the National University of Singapore. And once I finished, then I came to the US because my wife, she is a physician, a doctor, and so she did not get a job as a doctor in Singapore. So she applied for US exams and she came here. So I joined her here, and then I looked for a job as a professor. And so I've been at Simmons University since 2009, and it's my, I think, 14th year now at Simmons.
That's great, sir. And so many great things from your life. In fact, I've read your short biography titled as Synthesizing Contradictions. In fact, an interesting title as well. So, I mean, like, I just want to, talk about this. Like, in your biography, it says that I wanted to introduce you with these phrases, but I couldn't do it. The introduction was taking too long already, but yet I want to reveal this. I mean, it's very interesting to introduce about you, sir. Like it says that professors' identities include Indian with large bits from Singapore and the US, Sikkimese, Marwari with a large part Nepali, and Hindu with major influences of the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhist principles of dukkha and non-permanence, Kabir's poems, yin and yang, and the common essence of all the religions. He's inclusive, secular, liberal, son, brother, husband, father, colleague, and friend. Beyond the adjectives, he says he's just a simple person, a learner trying to make the best of his time while hopefully contributing along the way. Like the part after that adjectives was kind of very interesting for me. Like you have done almost, I mean, it's kind of overwhelming from what you have achieved, what all the feats that you have achieved in your life, but yet you are as simple as you are. I mean, you are just a simple person at the end. Like how how were you able to achieve all these feats while being so simple? And it's kind of overwhelming. I mean, for any student like me. Could you please talk about it?
No, thank you, Neeraj. Basically, see when you keep doing things, right, then over a span of years or over a span of a lifetime, things add up. So that it's just that. It's nothing. It's just a documenting of things you've done in a way. If you don't document it, it's not a big deal. Like, in terms of things, but it's more than that. It's that we have been given a life, right? And we are born, and we don't have much of a choice. We are born, right? All of us. So once you're born and you realize that you have something to do. Initially, when you're small, you are sent to school by your parents, and then you're trying to make friends. You have your teachers, and you basically do try to live up to the expectations of your teachers and your parents. So, and I come from a large family. I have 3 sisters and 2 brothers, and so a lot of the times my sisters would also expect a lot from me in terms of making sure that I didn't lose a point in a single mark in school and all of that. So it was trying to live up to their expectations as well as of all of my teachers. And so initially you just do it for that. But what I realized is that at any point in time, right, you have some options. Is that that you have to there's certain things you can do. And I remember one now from the Rabindranath Tagore's poems, I think it was, where he talks about the idea of striving for excellence in all spheres. And that, again, growing up, when I recall now, I think that was something that that inspired me in some ways in terms of striving for excellence. But lately, in the past few years, I think what I've come to realize more is that even as you strive for excellence, or even if you're trying to do your best in everything, right, you have to make sure that you enjoy the process. We have to do things in a stress-free manner, because if you do it with stress, right, then there is not much of a point. Like in my university, I think about 5-10 years ago, there was a professor who retired, and he had written 49 books by the time he retired, and his 50th book was coming out on his retirement. So I asked him, like, how did he do that? And he said that he spent almost each part of his day, like 3 hours every day, writing. So he said, I'll get him in the morning from 9 to 12, something. I'll write every day, and then later I'll go for a jog and all of that. And he's done that, I think, almost all his life. So when you do that, when you build some time in the schedule, right, things add up. But then later on, I was thinking that has he done a bigger thing versus somebody who is sleeping by the beach? Let's say somebody lives in Goa or some other Maldives, some place, right, and spends all his life sleeping by the beach, enjoying the sun and doing nothing else as such. So I was thinking that who has done a bigger job? The professor wrote 50 books versus the person who slept by the beach. And I realized that the professor is no bigger than the person sleeping by the beach, because it is just something that we are choosing to live your life doing certain thing. So when you are writing a book versus when you are sleeping by the beach, right, it is just a choice of how you want to spend your life, because we have been given a certain time, and you want to do that spend that time doing something that you are at peace with. So it has to be part of your true nature. Now, if you're enjoying the process of writing the book every day, spending 3 hours of your life, all your life in front of a computer, then that is fine. You are doing that, right? But if you think that sleeping by the beach is what your idea of your life is, then that's also fine. So the question is, who decides what is right? Now, there's another aspect to this in terms of leaving a legacy, where people say that the idea of doing something which stays after you're gone, right?
Yeah.
But that we're leaving a legacy anyways. When we go to Facebook and you post things on Facebook and LinkedIn, Instagram, all those things are going into databases, right? So almost everybody's data is being recorded now by social media all over. Like this video that we're doing will be recorded, right? And
Yeah.
so is that too much of legacy? Or like, I know that a lot of people are choosing not to go on social media, choosing not to be recorded, choosing to stay away. So there's a whole amount of documentation going on. And if the data is destroyed, then the legacy is gone. So the question is, I think you have a lot of people have this thing about being remembered after you die, and that, but that also in a way stems a little bit from ego. I think I know that there's a stream of thought which talks about being one with the earth after you die, and not mattering, you know.
Yes.
So it is basically stemming from the ego. I think this idea of to be remembered, or this idea to be recognized, or to be popular or famous, or any of the greatness, right? Any of these things. But if you simply say that, okay, I'm alive today, so I'll do my best in my given day, what I can, and that is enough. So I think if you keep doing that, then things will add up at a point in time. But even if they don't, it doesn't really matter, is what I'm thinking.
Yeah, but even if you don't, as you say, it doesn't really matter. But then people can be lazy all the time, right? Throughout their life, and
Yes,
then they can just take rest without working for something.
they can, and that's perfectly fine. Because if you are lazy, right, all day, and you want to just lie down, that is perfectly fine if you can afford it. Now, there's the catch that comes in the sense that if you're born with a silver spoon, right, and then if you have some rent coming in, or you have money coming
Yeah.
into your bank to pay for
Yeah.
things, and you have people serving you, then that's fine. But what happens typically is that if you sleep for until 12 or 2 in your house, right, every day,
Yeah.
then your mother will not let you be. She'll say that
Yeah.
get up and go and work,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
and if you're married, if your wife is working all the time and you're not working, then she will kick you out. Or if your
Yeah.
wife is, or if you are the husband who's doing all the work and your wife is not doing, then you'll ask her to get up and do the work, right?
Yeah.
So, and if you're at work again, so basically, laziness is fine if you can get away with. The only thing is that what I have found is that work is power. Okay, so you'll find that even between your parents, let's say, right, or between a husband and a wife, anybody who's doing more work, right, will
Yeah.
suddenly have more power, and the other person will speak in a softer voice,
Yeah.
right? Because
That's
as you start working, right, you feel that I'm the one who's doing it, something. So the basic thing that I've realized is that work is actually the most important thing you can do. But you have to do it in a stressful manner, not under stress. You don't have to do it doing for somebody else. You do it because we will have to do something. Otherwise, you'll get completely bored all day. So you choose to do something, but you have to do it with a sense of intention, right?
intention.
And if you take work as power, then my personal philosophy is to keep working until the last day of your life. Pretty much is to not retiring as such.
Keep working without stress. Keep working the way you want.
Keep working the way you want it, and do it all your life.
Yeah.
Don't just sit down and think that, oh, now I'm 60, so I'll sit down. Now I'm 40, I'll sit down. Like
Okay.
or if you are, let's say, in India, if you're a mother-in-law saying that, oh, now my daughter-in-law is come, so I will do nothing. Or if you're saying that, okay, if you're a businessman, then you say, okay, my son's starting to earn now, so I'll sit and do nothing. So you don't have to work very hard even before, and you don't have to work very hard later. Hard in something, you do work hard, but you do it with this thought that you're spending days of your life, and you keep doing that all your life.
Yes.
and things will happen in a normal, natural, meditative manner, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah. Uh, the answer is kind of enlightening in some manner, but I have bit about to, bit about to say here. Like when you say that you keep working till you die, is it like we are working for no result? It's just about stress, right? You're saying, I mean, we need to work without having stress. Is it just about that? Is it not about any result that we're going to achieve through
No,
this work? And also, you told that keep working till you die. It, I mean, it kind of turns out to be that we are all running towards death. There's nothing more than that. Is it true? Kind of what I'm getting here.
yes. Sorry, what was the first part of your question? Good.
Yeah, I mean, we are all working
Mhm.
until we die.
Yeah.
Is it just that we need to work without having any stress,
Oh,
or
yes. No,
is
your first
yeah,
question was on the result part. That you're saying that
yeah,
if should we work?
no result?
Yeah. So the thing is, you do plan for result when you're planning, right? So in the sense that you keep some aim as to what you want to do, because that aim will motivate you. Let's say you want to get your your students who are watching this program are working towards a certification or a degree or some knowledge in
Yeah,
VLSI, right, or something.
yeah,
So you keep that knowledge gaining and skill gaining as a part of your motivation, right? Saying that this is what I want to do. Or let's say there are
okay,
students appearing for UPSC, the civil services exams.
yeah,
They will want to get into the civil services exams. So when you're working, you too keep some goal in mind, saying that okay, I'm working towards it. So that goal will just give you a direction. That's all,
okay,
right? Saying that a person appearing for this can also be doing farming at the same time. But if farming is not what your direction is, then if you are spending your time farming, then you'll not go towards the VLSI, right?
yeah, yeah,
So VLSI here for the audience is maybe if you explain that so that when you use this term,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
Understood.
So 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 b- so basically, whichever way you are going, right? It just gives you direction. But then if you're appearing for your civil service exam, you may not get in, because a very tiny percentage of students who actually apply get into
Yeah,
Indian civil services, right?
yeah,
So then what? Then you're devastated, because the
yeah,
last 3 years you spent completely in stress,
yeah,
saying
yeah.
that what have I
True.
gotten, right?
Yeah, true.
But if you do it under the in this, if you study for the same thing but not under stress, saying that even while I'm preparing for this exam, I'm going to make sure that this is the time of my life, because everybody, as you said, are moving towards death, right? So
Yeah,
even while preparing for exam, you're moving towards death.
yeah,
So you don't want to spend 2 years of your life under stress, knowing that you are eventually moving towards death. But if you're saying that I'm just choosing to do this work for 2 years as a
yeah,
preparation for this exam, which is fine,
yeah,
right? And then in the end, if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. So you're doing the same work with an aim, but also with a certain sense of detachment from the result, saying that not that the result doesn't matter, the result matters because there'll be some outcome or the other, but the result is not in your hands,
yeah,
right? The only thing in your hand is you're doing your best.
yeah,
So you do your best. So I think earlier you had asked me about what did I do, how did I achieve so many things, and right? I think it is more that at different points in time in my life, right? I have always chosen to do my best, no matter what I'm doing. So, but you can only do your best when you're enjoying everything that you're doing. Under stress, a lot of the times you'll not do your best. The stress might be useful for a short periods when there is like a deadline, and uh, and there is a big push towards doing that. So it can, if you have been working towards something and then you get a last push, right? Then the last bit
yeah,
can help. But a lot of the times I feel that we have created a society where there is a lot of focus on productivity, which doesn't
yeah,
measure up to the big thing, and there is a lot of focus on artificial stress. So people get stressed, they pass on the stress, the other person gets stressed, passes on the stress. And for things which
agree.
can be done in a systematic manner, that is unnecessarily created into something stress-free, which doesn't mean that you don't monitor progress. You can monitor progress, but then divide the work into very small pieces and monitor the progress towards small pieces. rather than
Yeah.
overwhelming people with like huge goals and things, and what if this doesn't happen, then the world will fall down or something, if or the world will go upside down. So if something doesn't happen, life will still go on. If you don't get into civil
Yeah.
service, you'll still find something else to do.
Yeah.
But then if
Exactly.
you spend those 2 years under stress, then you would have wasted a part of your life, right? You know that, and not fully enjoying.
Yeah. Got it.
So I just want to talk about a video that I watched on YouTube, and it was by a person called Alan Watts. Okay, and I found
Okay.
Alan Watts by chance, and then I started listening to him, and I thought, okay, he made so much of sense, and I thought I want to meet this man, and I would love
Yeah.
to meet him. And then I found out that he had died like 50 years ago or something. He lived in the mid 1950s, 60s, 70s. And
Oh,
so a
okay.
lot of his recordings were available, and they were on YouTube. But he spoke with a lot of clarity. I think kind of similar to even when you're reading Swami Vivekananda's books, right? When you read Vivekananda, even though he lived like a century ago, when you read him, he speaks with a lot of clarity too. Like he
Yeah.
speaks as if he's speaking to you directly right now. And so, well, in one of Alan Watts' videos, he says that people told him when he was growing up that life is a journey, that you're supposed to finish school, and then from school go to college, and then from college you get a job, and then you get married, and the married
Yes.
have children, and wait for the
Yes.
children to get married, and then you
Yes.
retire, and then you die, right? So there's always
Yes.
you go work towards one door, then the door closes, another door opens, then you go towards one door, another door opens, like
Yes.
So there is this whole lot of different
Changing trains.
yeah, changing trains, different doors,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
then he realized that all those people who said that life was a journey were lying. And he said that life is not really a journey. And he says that life is a party, okay, where the music is playing.
Okay.
And you are at that party, and you were supposed to dance during that party. And you're supposed to
Okay.
enjoy the music. Now,
Yeah.
if you forgot to dance, and if you forgot to enjoy the music, and if you spent that party under stress for one reason or the other,
Okay.
the music will stop playing, and the party will stop. So it is your choice how you want to spend that party. So
Okay.
that is what it is. That's a human life, right? It is the party
Yeah.
that we have for a short period, and we
Yeah.
don't even know how long. Different periods people have it for different points in time, and you are supposed to enjoy the process. You're supposed to enjoy every moment, every single day.
Promise.
But because we lose sight of that, we lose sight of the thing that life is so short, that we start living it as if we're going to live forever, and that we have endless time. And when you think you have endless
Yeah.
time, right, that is when you start taking in stress, passing on stress, judging people, being judged
Yes.
by people, right, or spending time in anger, hurt. And even with friends, right, every time I feel that even a single day, or even with your family, right, that you're spending holding a grudge or not being nice to people and all that, right, is wasted
Yeah.
time of your life and their life. So we have to, if something happens, right, then
Yeah.
think of it like a wave in the sea. Like a wave comes and let it came, and next morning it's gone. So we don't hold on to
Oh,
it the next morning, because next morning you're born as a new person,
yeah. Agree.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. That actually, that thing, I mean, you've answered just now. It makes a lot of sense. Think about life. I mean, certainly, at the end of the day, we're all running towards death, and why live our life under stress? Instead, we can do the work that that is of our interest, so that we won't be stressful and we would be enjoying the music of life, as you
Yeah.
said. That's great, and in fact, that should provide the audience as well. I mean, meaning of their life, how to spend their lives. I mean, the answer that you just gave kind of gives an abstract direction to life to everyone. I mean, in their own perspective.
Yeah. When you see abstract, right? So you were only talking about Project Oneness World, I said I interview people. So in one of the interviews I carried out was of a very famous professor called Professor Brenda Derwin, and she's a big name in the communication and information science field, and she
Okay.
came up with a theory called the sense making methodology, and she unfortunately passed away on December 31st, 2002. But I
Oh,
have like
okay.
about two and a half hours of her interviews. And so when you talk about the whole idea of sense making, so I identified with a lot with her way of thinking, and she had a philosophical grounding to her to looking at things as well. There's also a field called hermeneutics, which is also talking about that abstract idea. But basically, to make it simple, what it means is that when you're doing it's called moving from the big picture to the details, and from details to the big picture. It's also the idea in Taoism. So the basic thing is that when you're living a life, right? When you're working on a deadline, right? Then don't lose sight of the big picture. Don't lose sight of your life, why it matters, and how this deadline fits within that larger scheme of your life. Okay, so that is holding on to the big picture. But at the same time, don't just talk about big picture and big things and don't do the deadlines work.
Oh, okay.
You get what I mean?
So, get it.
So which means that when you are doing the abstract thing, that keep the when you're working on the detail, then keep the abstract in mind.
Right.
But when you're working on the abstract, keep the detail in mind. Because in a daily life, your daily job also matters. Doing your daily duty, right? You cannot just sit and talk about philosophy and then not do your work, not help out at home, not do your work. So doing your daily thing, daily work with full diligence, and then keeping the big picture in mind is important. So I call it as moving from the abstract to the detail, and from detail to the abstract all the time, continuously.
Yeah, that is actually very interesting. Big picture and also the detail. Yeah, I mean, this should provide the audience more clarity as well. Yes, that's actually great. I mean, that is actually the key takeaway from this whole session, if I can say, because it kind of enlightens me about life.
Yeah, so I think because then what happens is, then you're working on the detail. The detail is important because it forms a part of something that needs to get done, right?
That's
so so you're doing your work well with diligence is important, but keeping the big picture in mind will help you do that task with a sense of intention, knowing that my life is a party and this is a part of my life. This is the time of my day, and I should do this not with a sense of stress, but knowing that I'm doing to do work because I need to do something or the other to spend my time, because I'm born, so I need to kill time. Right?
Yeah. So that big picture gives all of this.
Yes. So you do it also because you're not doing something will have a repercussion on somebody else. So you do it with their thought, but don't fall into the trap of artificial pressure, because we are living in a society of people who are passing on a lot of pressure. So if they're trying to get you to be under stress, do not come under stress. Sometimes you might even have to say, if they say that you have to do something in 2 days, you might have said that, no, this is going to take me 20 days.
Yeah, agree.
Right? So do not come under that artificial stress which people will try to continuously push you at, because it's not that you're doing it for one time, it's all your life.
Yeah,
it's like if you have to do a stressful thing for 10 days, that's okay, but so we are not in a sprint, you see, we're in a marathon. So if you're running for a sprint, you can run quickly for 2 minutes and get really tired, and that's fine. But if you're running a marathon, if you get really tired for 2 minutes, then you cannot do that, because so if you have to work all your life, like I talked about the idea of working all your life until you die, right? So you cannot burn yourself out. You have to keep the fire in you alive all your life for that.
Yeah, I agree to that. Life is a marathon concept, sir. But I just have a point to ask you here. Like in our life, I mean, there are certain deadlines by which we should achieve so and so things. Let's say marriage is a thing. Like by the age of under the age of 30, you should get married, and if you want to get married by that age, like you should be settled enough for that, to handle your own family. What about that?
Yeah, so
although it's a marathon, but there are some deadlines.
Yeah, so these are so it's not a hard deadline, right? So when you say 30, it can be 28, it can be 32.
Yeah.
Right? So what we're talking about is the ballpark, right? So again, now this is more in the Indian way of thought, right? Where marriage as an institution is considered very sacred and important for everybody. And I think it's not a bad thought. The reason I say why it's not a bad thought is because what it does is that our life, right, is it's a very difficult life as human beings when you're born. Okay, so when you have by its very nature, life is difficult. Like as Buddha found, there's a pain in the birth process, a pain in the pain in growing up,
Yes.
not wanting to go to school and all of that.
Yes.
But there is a disease, there is old age, there's losing friends, there's
Yes.
breaking of relationships. There is all kinds of things
Yeah.
that can happen. Then there's death, right?
Yeah.
And there's also some things about not being good enough. All of those kinds of pain is there. So
Yeah.
so because life is so difficult on your own, uh, so it is helpful when you have people to spend life with, right? So when you're growing up, when you grow up in a family, when you grow up with your parents, right, you kind of take care of each other. You provide a unit because the world is difficult,
Yes.
so you form a unit. And
Okay.
and even if you get married or have a partner or live in a relationship, whichever way you choose to have a companion, right?
Yeah.
Then again, we're looking for somebody to share a life together, because not that life is easy, but it's two people bearing the same load versus one person doing it,
Okay.
right? But even if you choose to remain single, you can also have a good network of very close friends with, right?
Okay.
Yeah, who support each other through the
Yeah.
difficulties in life through each and day. So you have somebody to talk to, somebody to share with, right? So it is
Yeah.
about creating that social bond. Now, the problem will happen if you again do it under pressure. The same thing if you do it under stress, right? Saying that I've known a lot of cases where parents will marry off a child to the wrong person,
Yeah.
right? And then you are
Happens.
incompatible in a lot of ways, and then your entire life is then spent in misery, right?
Yeah.
Versus if you do it at the same with a sense of intention, saying that okay, these are two people or two families, whichever way you approach it, as an arranged marriage or love marriage, but it's two people who are wanting to spend their life together. So take your time to find that person, get to know that person, and at least there should be an alignment in the value system. Now,
Okay.
let's say for you, spiritual quest is more important, or detachment is more important, or doing something for the world is more important,
Yeah.
versus for the other person, being the most famous person is most important, building an industry is more important, getting a lot of money is more important, by hook or by crook is more important. Then you see there'll be a
Yeah.
misalignment in your value system,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And
And it brings about stress.
this brings stress as well. And
Yeah.
again, even in India right now, countries sort of being divided into right wing versus left wing, a little bit right of the center, left of the center as well, like. And
Yes.
again, if you have two of those people marrying each other, then you'll argue day in, day out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So, but even it doesn't matter. I think as long as there's love. So compatibility, I think, is important, but I don't think it's important beyond a point. If you approach your life and a marriage and your relationships, friendships, right, everything from a sense of giving rather than getting, saying that
Okay.
I'm married to this person, or I'm born to this parents, or these are my children, right? And
Yeah.
I need to give to them rather than expect to get from them. And the
Yeah.
expectation of getting will come all the time, but then you have to intentionally tell yourself that your duty is for giving and for doing. And every time you do that, you'll get powerful, because the stress of getting will always make you miserable, because you'll
Yeah.
find that no matter what somebody does for you, right? When you're thinking about getting, you'll find that you may not be getting in the way you think you should be getting.
Yeah.
And
Makes sense.
that will always keep you focusing on something that you don't have versus something that you have, versus
Yeah.
thinking that okay, this person is alive, this person is in my life, and even if
Great.
this person is at home, or this
Yeah.
person is away from me on a phone call away, or like, so
Yeah.
once you know that this person, just the person being there itself is enough.
Enough.
So then it fills us with a sense of gratitude. Otherwise, we are always in
Yes.
the space of, oh, I did not get what I should be getting, and that leads to
Yes.
misery.
Yes. Yeah. This is also very interesting again. Concept of focusing on giving. And when we realize this, there's no misery at all in our life.
There's no misery.
That's also a very I mean, that's also a key takeaway from the session.
Yeah, and one thing I'll tell you that every time, and this is for all the students who are watching also, I think. So let's say that you are sitting and you're very upset, and you are miserable and you're feeling really bad.
Yeah.
Ask yourself at that point, is it because I wanted something and I didn't get it? Was it about me wanting something? And I can tell you that it's 90 to 95% of the time it will be about you wanting something and not getting it, which is making you miserable.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all about expectations.
Yeah. So then if you tell that, okay, if it's about me, right, get the me out of it. So you know in India, when you celebrate Holi, there's a Holika Dahan. And
Yeah.
so there is this the big stick which is there, and then there's gobar. There's a theplas made from gobar that's all around, and
Yeah.
then people will go in there and they'll pull that out as a way of saving
Yes.
Prahlad. That's from the
Yes.
Prahlad story. Okay.
Yes.
So, or you can think of like a rocket launch. So when you are in that sitting in that pool of misery at that point, right?
Yeah.
Pull yourself out like a rocket launch, basically, saying that it's not
Okay.
about me. Get the me out of it and make it about doing for the other person, or thinking from the other person's point of view.
Okay.
The moment you do that, right, and you only have about 100 seconds or 60 seconds to do that, because if you don't do it within 1 minute, you'll go back to the pool. And then once the realization comes in, get up and start saying that, okay, think about the other person, and now let me start doing other things like taking a shower, going for a walk, and exercising, or doing anything that I want to do, rather than sitting and wallowing in that pool of misery. So there's one more thing. Earlier that you were talking about the deadline issue, right? Just saying deadlines are there, like marriage deadline, age of 30 or something else is there.
Yeah.
So those are planning purposes, having some ballpark, saying that I want to do this by this certain time, right? I want to exercise within this state. I want to finish this book in a certain period. So that will give you some idea to plan your work.
Okay.
And getting married by the age of 30 or 28 in a way is important, because if you get married by the age of 30, right, let's say, right, and you have children by the age of 32 or something, right?
Yeah.
By the time the children reach 20 years old, you'll be 52 years old. If you choose to get married at the age of 40, then by the time your children are 20, you'll be 60.
Yes.
So that is why your parents are thinking from their point of view, in terms of trying to give you something, trying to make you look backwards.
Yeah.
Yep. But a lot of people now are choosing either not to get married, or not to even if they're married, not to have children. All that.
Yes.
Right.
That's happening as well.
So that's happening, and who are we to judge whether it's right or wrong? Right. It is different points in time. Like people also have could be either gay or transgender as well. As people have different sexual preferences. People have different ways of living life. So it is up to the individual to decide what they want to do with their life. So there is a certain society has a certain thing, but society also needs to evolve with changing times.
Yes.
So, but it is basically, the idea is that music is playing in my life, is a music. My life is music. It's a party, right? But that party is there for every person's life as well.
Every person's life.
So we need to let every person decide what is their idea of the party. How do they want to spend their time? A lot of the times we think that my idea is correct and I should be imposing my idea on the other person, and that is what leads to problems.
Agree with that.
So we can give my wisdom, like let's say that there's a couple who are married but they don't have children. As a father, I can tell them that there's a lot of joy in having children. So have children. But they say that no, I don't want children. Then just because I chose to have children, there's also a lot of difficulty in raising children. But they're saying that no, I don't want the joy, I don't want the difficulty. Right? So it is a choice that they're making in a way.
Their choice.
Right? So I can give them my advice, I can give them, this is my experience. But based on after that, it's up to them how they want to mold it. So everybody's experience can be shared, can be learned from, but you have to measure that against your own life and your own way of thinking, and what matters most to you.
Yes. Yeah, totally agree with that. And in fact, this session has been enlightening right from the beginning. I've taken a lot of sessions till now, but I mean, this session has been outstanding from when I compare with all of the sessions.
Thank you.
Like from your previous answer, I want to get to your previous answer once again. You mentioned the term as love when you were explaining us. about queuing, not expecting things from others. So, as per you, I mean, what is the exact meaning of love?
Okay, that is it's a very big question, and thank you for that. And it's very important too, I think. Now, the thing is, we have a very narrow definition of love most of the time, right? People think of love as just something between a girlfriend and a boyfriend, or between two partners and stuff like that, right? And that is fine. That's a kind of love, right? That is love which is there, which is very strong as an emotion, which is called ishq in Urdu, right? And mohabbat, and there are all a Hindi movie industry, I think, is centered on that, right? At the same time, and experience love. I think if you go through the chance of experiencing love, experience it in all its emotions, right? So that is good. There's nothing wrong in that. But at the same time, love is basically there in every aspect of a life, right? As soon as a mother, when she gives birth, right, until that point she is thinking about herself, about what she wants, and all of those. Suddenly, when she gives birth, now a lot of the times, the kind of attachment that the mother has for a child, right, it's unprecedented. They say that on the earth, if you have to experience God, then you experience a mother, right? The closest it comes to experiencing God is
Yes,
in the emotion of a
yes,
mother, right?
yeah,
Because there's a lot of unconditionality attached to the emotion of a mother, and which even a mother cannot understand why in a lot of times, right?
unconditional love.
Yeah, unconditional love that you see between the mother and a child. But it's not just that. And I'm not saying that a mother has to be unconditional all the time. It is perfectly fine that a mother should watch out for her body, her career, her things as well, right? So I'm not trying to say that a woman has to be sacrificing. I'm just talking about
Yes, okay,
love as an emotion.
yeah,
And at the same time, so between a father and a child, or between a husband and a wife, or between two partners, between two friends, right? Uh, between, you can have love between colleagues, between a boss. All I'm saying is that our entire life, right, is basically love, in the sense that we are made of love. So one of the if you read our Upanishads, or if you read the Bhagavad Gita, right, uh, there is the idea of there is one of the ancient shlokas which talks about that on the branches of a tree, right, there were two birds who were sitting on the branch of the same tree, and
yeah,
one bird was eating the fruits of the tree, and sometimes the fruits
yeah,
were sweet, and sometimes the fruits were bitter. But there was another
yeah,
bird who was sitting on the tree, and that bird was just watching, and that bird was neither tasting the fruit as sweet or bitter, and was
yeah,
just seeing it. That bird is constantly smiling. So
okay,
I also read a book called The Power of Now a few years ago by Eckhart Tolle, and that book talked about how this author, right, Eckhart Tolle, he said until the age of 30 or something, he used to be very depressed and anxious, and he got so anxious once, and he said that I'm really tired like this, and I cannot live with myself anymore. Okay,
okay,
and then he realized that who is this myself that I cannot live with? Is there one of me or two of me? Okay? And then he realized that, oh, the inside of me, there's not one person, but two people. And it's the same idea which is there in the Upanishad, which is there in the Gita, which is there in all the writings of Kabir, in all of Kabir's poems, right? It's the whole thing. But the basic idea is that there is this witness, which is a sakshi, which we call in Hindi. Okay,
okay,
so we have us, and we have the sakshi, which we call as the Atma, right? You can call it as
yeah,
Atma. You can call it. There's this concept of Atma, Paramatma, and the Jeev, or the body, right?
yes,
But the very basic idea is that if let me approach this very simply. Let's leave the other things aside for a little while. So inside of me, there are two people. Okay, inside of you, there are two people. Inside every person who's watching this video, there are two people. Who are those
understood.
two
Okay,
people? Okay, so one person is me. Inside of me, well, the one person that's me is Naresh Agarwal. Okay,
okay,
and the one person that is you is Neeraj. Okay, there's one person that somebody
okay,
else is their names, or whatever identity, the mind, and everything else that comes about. Okay, but the other part of me, and that part is what makes us different. That your name and my name and every person's name and all of mine, right? That is what makes us different from each other. That makes us
Yeah.
this idea of liking, not liking, my thoughts, my opinions, my achievements. Or you said,
Comparison.
I talked a lot about achieved a lot in life. Actually, there's nothing. It's just something of the past, right? It's not even now. So all those
Yeah.
things are my ego or my mind working on it. Okay.
Yeah.
But the second part of me, which is this. So the second person in me is the love. Okay. And the second person in you is also love. And the second person is every person watching that video is also love. So the interesting part is that even though our minds are separate, that your identity and my identity is separate, our sense of identity, our sense of our resumes, our achievements, and all of those things, let's say, are separate, right? In the way we talk about it. But the love that we share, the love inside you, the love inside me, are not different. It's the same love. It's exactly the same. It's basically we are sharing one big love. Okay, and the same love is there in every person on the earth as well, every person watching this video as well. So
yeah.
So if there are 7.5 billion people in the world, there are 7.5 billion egos, or 7.5 billion minds, but the love is the same, and it's not just same in human beings, but also shared among animals, also shared in the entire universe. That is something which is pretty much there all the time, and that is the reason that even if I do not speak your language, or even if I do not know you, right? That is the way that two people are able to communicate and understand each other, because of a shared love which is there. Because you have that love in you, you are able to get me right away, even without knowing the ego part of me. Because that part of me is like, basically, I reside in you and you reside in me when you do that, right? You know, when you every close when you think of a close friend and you smile, when you think of your husband or a wife or a parent and you smile, right? They're not even outside of you, they're inside you. And any thought of them will make you smile right away, right? And that is because of the shared love that you have, right? And so this is the love. Once you realize that, and this is there in everything, the whole of our bhakti yoga, it's all realizes that when you think of Ram, right? And then you realize that Ram in me is the same as Ram in you and Ram in everybody else, right? Then they say that the whole world becomes Rammay. So you start seeing Ram in every person. When you are a Krishna devotee, when you think of Krishna, right? Then you start seeing Krishna in every person, every single person that is there. And there's a very interesting doha by Kabir. So Kabir was a 15th century poet and saint, right? And I would say that if you want to understand life, and if you have to pick just one person and say that I'm going to live my life based on this, I would say that you don't have to look more than Kabir. For any person watching this video, just pick up any two lines by Kabir. It's very, very two simple lines, and Kabir is able to distill the entire understanding of life and the world in very, very simple terms. Okay, so in one of the two-line poems of Kabir, he says that prema gali ati sakari, okay, tame dona samay, jab main tha tab hari nahi, ab hari hai main nahi. Okay, now what that means is that the lane of love, okay, the gali is like, the Hindi word gali, right? Gali is a very thin, narrow lane, okay? So prem gali is the lane of love. This is ati sakri. It's like, sakri means like very, very narrow. It's very, very narrow, okay? So it says that ta me do na samay, means in that two cannot fit in, okay? Who are the two that cannot fit in, okay? So one is main. The whole idea of main is I, okay?
Yeah.
And what languages do you speak?
Hindi, English, Telugu.
So in Telugu, what do you call I?
Nenu.
Nenu, right? So when you say Nenu, right? So your Nenu is the problem.
Got it.
Got it, right? So the I or the main in Nepali would say ma, or like in Nenu, right? So that
that doha.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doha tells it all.
So as long as you have the I, right?
Yeah.
So then you cannot.
There's no love.
There is no love. There is no God.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then tame dona samay, like two of them cannot fit in. And he says, so as long as I was there was no God at all. But once you realize once you realize what love is, what God is, and once you realize that love is within you, in every person you're
Yeah.
talking to, and all around you,
Yeah.
then you see that
Yeah.
your whole life, your whole world is nothing but love. You are living in love.
Yeah.
It's like a fish who's looking for love, right? You are love, and you're composed of love, and you are surrounded by love all the time, right?
Yeah.
It was just that every love is surrounded by a shell of ego. Every body that you see has a shell of ego along with it as well. But within that is
Yeah.
every love. So then he says that now that I see that Ab Hari hai main nahi, he says that now that I realize Hari is Vishnu, the God, right? And Hari is
Yeah.
also love. And he says, but now that I see that there is love, there is nothing that there is no Nenu. Nenu is gone, like I is gone
Or
completely, right? So as so that is what happens. So once that realization dawns in you, then for every person that you see, meet, and talk to, right? Then you are seeing the same love, the same God. So even if your boss is not being nice to you, you don't go and judge the boss. You see that this boss must be going through a difficult time at home, and he must be suffering and struggling, right?
yeah.
And then you don't go by the ego of that word, but you identify with the love aspect which is shared with you. That every time you encounter somebody going through a difficult time, you go and hug the person rather than judging the person. So that sense
Yeah.
of judgment is coming from the ego. So ego leads to separation, and love leads to connection. And our basic nature is to connect. We are all yearning and thriving to connect. So the way to connect is to first realize that love inside of us. Once we realize that there is this big reservoir, like the big ocean of love within us, then we have the capacity to give that love to other person. But if we are narrow and like shrunk, and we are holding on
Yeah.
so tight, then that ego takes control, and then
Yes.
we are not able to realize love, right? There was something very nice I heard, which said that Bhagwan or Abhiman, these two words, they don't go together. He says that as long as there's Abhiman, you cannot realize Bhagwan. And if you have to realize Bhagwan, you have to let go of Abhiman. So Abhiman is again pride, right? Or the sense of like me, you being somebody, or you. But the thing is that ego is so powerful that if I say I don't have ego, that itself is ego.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah.
So if I say I'm very spiritual, that is ego. So ego is something. The whole idea of I is ego. So ego will keep coming all the time, and ego is also has its purpose in the sense that it helps you survive in a world where somebody is trying to put you down. So ego helps you not be a doormat at times, right? But then Kabir says that if you want to experience love, right? So he has one doha which says like prem na the heart the body upaje prem na heart bike, right? So it says love is not something that grows in the fields, and love is not something which is sold in the market. He says, right? Raja Parja, like anybody who wants to experience love, right? He just
Yeah.
says, Sheesh dei leu jai. He says that give your head, cut off your head, and then go take as much love as you want. Now, the idea of
Yeah.
cutting off your head is basically this ego. Is that
Yeah.
if you want love, then the price you have to pay to experience love is cutting off of your head, is the giving off of your ego. And
Okay.
only when you do that will you have this rainfall of love on you,
Okay.
right? And once you do that, right, there's nothing but love. Actually, the whole life is just simply love. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, this is actually crazy. I mean, Kabir's Doha, as you say, a single Doha of Kabir could be a realization of God,
A single
from
doha.
what I can realize from your
Yeah.
answer.
Yes.
I mean, all the audience, if they look at it very carefully, realizing God or love, I mean, I think those two are interchangeable now. After your answer, love and God.
Yeah.
And I mean, in case if they are thinking what is God exactly, I guess they got the answer right now.
There is another one called with, there's another doha which starts with like Lali Dekhan Main Gayi, right? So there's Kabir who goes and starts wanting to see the red color, like Lali, or the love of God, right? And he says that everywhere, like Jit Dekho Tit Lal, is like anywhere I see, there's only lal. There's nothing. It's all, I'm out there to see the red color, and it's everywhere there's red. And then it says, "Main bhi ho gayi lal." So I also became red, because it's everywhere. It's like Holi. Like, you are there on the day of Holi. You're trying to see that is there color in the world. And it says, I go out and you say everywhere there's just color and color. And then I became color too at the end of it, right? So that's the thing. We are living in love, we're living in God, and we're trying to look for God. We're trying to look for love. There's nothing but love, basically. That's our idea.
Yeah. I mean, this also exactly resonates with what, since I'm a Hindu, like this exactly resonates with what Krishna says in Mahabharata. I mean, thing is, I am everywhere. God, I am everywhere, and I am part of this. Although I'm everywhere, but I'm still a part of this. And what you have said is also resonates with that. Like, go and see there's color everywhere. There is love everywhere.
Yeah. So even you talked about the Mahabharata, the Bhagavad Gita, right? Now in the 18th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, towards the end, right? Now there's one shlok which says that Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksheshyami masuchah. So what Krishna is saying is that give up all varieties of your thought process, everything, and just surrender yourself unto me. And I will take care of all your troubles. Like, do not fear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what that shlok is saying is basically is the very idea of surrender. Okay. And now surrender is something so difficult but so important, in the sense that when you surrender basically means, now there was a person who in Vrindavan. My aunt lives in Vrindavan, and he is he was nearby there, and when I met him there, he said that so he lives close by, and he told me that kabhi apne aap ko yogya mat samajhna. Okay. And I asked, so I understood exactly what he was trying to say, because that is very, kabhi apne aap ko yogya mat samajhna means never think of yourself as capable. Okay. And that is very contrary to all the wisdom we get, because the whole wisdom we get is like, oh, think that you are the best. I'm the best, right? Nike is what I can do it, right?
Yes.
So we are all out there trying to project and prove that you are the best, right?
Yeah.
And then here he is telling me that kabhi apne aap ko yogya mat samajhna, right? And it was so powerful for me, because you can get blinded by your achievements. You might think, oh, I achieved so much, I've done all of these things, right?
Yeah.
And then you're thinking that I'm the one who's doing it, right?
Yeah.
Versus the central philosophy of the Bhagavad Gita, right? The Bhagavad Gita talks about that everything is being done. A lot of things are happening for you, right? We are an instrument in that sense. That we are somewhere there. We are not the director. We are an actor who have been given a part, and we keep doing things, and we act, and we think that we are the one who wrote the story. We did not write the story. Okay. So but this will only come from surrender, because, and this is especially important to remember, what happens is that why our life becomes so difficult at times is because we think we are the doer. Okay. And we are the achievers, we are the go-getters. Okay. Everything, like let's say you did really well, you achieved all 90% and everything, and you aced all the exams, everything, you worked hard and you kept doing things all the time, and you said that I can do it. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, actually, so I wrote a book called I wrote a book with another co-author called The Glory, Not the Story, the Ikigai book that we talked about. Okay. And in the first story of the Ikigai, there's a story of one of my friends from university, and she was one of the person in the book called Aarti Singh. So she said, she writes something very interesting. So we all got scholarship to go study in Singapore. So this was a story of all the people who went to Singapore to study. Okay. And then so every person who went there was a big achiever, because they took like the cream of India in a way, like they were the toppers in their school. And from all the toppers, from 20,000-30,000 people who were interviewed, we were like the 50 people who were selected in every batch. And so every year they got, so anybody who was there was already a very high achiever. Okay. So that means they had spent all their life being the best in their school, being the best in everything that they did, right? Doing really well in all kinds of extracurricular activities, and doing everything. And she said that she joined her first job. She got a job. She got scholarship, everything. It was everything. She finished her university. She got her first job. And then there was like a big layoff that happened. Some 10,000,
Oh,
some
okay.
1,000, 2,000 people were asked to leave the job. Okay.
Oh, okay.
And she said that I was standing there and other people were feeling sad and miserable. And she said, I was smiling and I started laughing. And she was like, wow, this is happening to me. I'm this big achiever, this person who has done everything, right?
Yeah.
And somebody is just telling me that you're not good enough now, leave my company.
Yeah.
Right? And same thing will happen with these achievers. Like you might have people who will reject you in relationships, people who will not accept your friendship, right? People and
Yes.
some job that you try, you do not get, you apply for all this exam, you have not got, you don't get.
Yes.
So if you are the doer, then how do you deal with all of these kinds of things? And then when you approach the same thing with a spirit of surrender, saying that I'm just doing my best, I'm not the doer, right?
Yes.
Then as things happen, you'll be able to take it gracefully. You'll be like, there is this bhajan which says, right, which says Sita Ram, Sita Ram, Sita Ram kahiye, jahi vidhi
Yeah.
rakhe Ram, tahi vidhi rahiye. But the second line is very important. The second line which says, jahi vidhi rakhe Ram, tahi vidhi rahiye, which is that the way Ram keeps you, then live that way, right? Now, if you are a
Just
Christian,
accept things.
yeah, if you're a Christian, you can think of as Jesus Christ. If you're a Muslim, you can think of Allah. No matter which religion you
Yeah.
come from, right?
Yeah.
Think of if you're a Sikh, think of Vaheguru, right? So the idea
Yeah.
is that whichever way God keeps you alive, gives you in whichever way, to accept things in a graceful manner. Okay? Even in Christianity, there's a very nice prayer called Serenity Prayer. Okay, it's called Saint Francis Prayer. So which talks about the idea of giving you the the whole idea of the thing is that when there are things you can do something about,
Yeah.
right? Then you do something about it. Okay. But to be when there are things that you can do nothing about, let's say somebody is in a terminal for cancer, right?
Okay.
And now there's nothing you can do about it. It's in the very last stage. Okay.
Yeah.
Then to have the acceptance, the serenity to accept the things that you can change. So having the power to change the things which you can,
Yeah.
and having the grace to accept the things which you cannot change. Okay. So now the answer which I told you about thinking of not thinking of yourself as capable, right? And everything is being controlled by God, right? Now
Yeah.
then the question will come in that it can be very easily misconstrued, that somebody might say that if everything is predestined, right? If everything is controlled, then why do I need to work?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I don't
Exactly.
need to do anything. Things will simply happen for
Yes.
me, right?
Yes.
Now,
That comes to mind. Yeah.
yeah, that will come to your mind. So the thing is,
Yeah.
the Bhagavad Gita also divides, talks about two things. Okay, one is your circumstance. Okay, circumstance, you can think of it as God's will or circumstance or things that basically, or you can think of if you're playing cards, you can see a deck of cards that serve to you. So anything that is a situation that is given to you. Okay, so that
Yeah.
circumstance will be there all the time. Okay,
Okay.
so that is the part which you cannot control. But you have also been given the power of karma, which is very powerful. So this is a central
Yes.
concept in both Hinduism and Buddhism. So karma is work, right? If you read any of Swami Vivekananda's teachings, right? If you ask him about what's the purpose of life, one of the central things that will come out is that work, work, work. He says there's
Yes.
nothing more important than work. Just work, work, work
Yes.
is your life. Keep working, right? So
Yes.
your life as work, right, is is this part that you can control. So in any circumstance, okay, when that, so let's say that something is given, something happens which is undesirable, which you did not want it to happen, then at that moment you can be like very you can either be very disturbed, which is fine to get disturbed for a little while, but then if you surrender it, if you have faith and surrender, right, then you're saying that jahi vidhi rakhe Ram, tahi vidhi rahiye. I will, this is if this is what God wants me, or even if you do not believe in God, when I say God, right, you can use fate, circumstance, anything, right?
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
as long as, so if this is the way it is supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
Then actually the belief in God also depends on how you define God. That's a whole separate question. But then if you define God as love, right, or define God as something apart within you, if you think that things are happening which you have no control over,
Yeah.
then you surrender. You surrender to the universe. You surrender to, fine, I'm just going to enjoy this now. So one of the things which I start doing is that when everything goes out of my control, right, that is the time then I'll probably start dancing, even if I don't dance well. Saying that now,
Yeah.
it's gone. Like, I was trying to do things are like things are happening. I was trying to make it. Now, like, I've tried everything. So it's like basically you're in daldal, in a quicksand. So in quicksand, the more you are moving your hands and feet, the more you're drowning.
Drowning. Get it.
So the way to stop drowning is to be still at that moment.
Yeah.
Right? And that will
Great.
save you.
Yeah.
So you'll find in this book as well, the Tao Te Ching is a very beautiful book. It's an ancient Chinese scripture, and Tao Te Ching again has this idea of non-doing. Okay, so again, if there is a disturbed water, and then if you throw the stone at water, and if you want the disturbance to go away, if you throw more stones, it's going to get more disturbed. So do nothing. So that's the time when you do nothing and let the time go by.
Go by.
And then it will be fine. Things will go fine, So the only thing is that you have to develop strategies on what to do when that time is there. When the disturbance is there, right? Then if your mind is very disturbed, then the more you work, the more harm you'll do at that moment. The more you speak, the more harm you'll do. But how to calm your mind is something that each of us needs to develop on our own when you're doing that. So you can have different strategies for doing it. Some people, you can listen to sad songs, or you can listen to some motivational videos, or you can read something, you can watch a movie, you can talk to a friend, you can go to your mother and hug her, or you can go for a walk, you can start jogging, right? But if none of these are there, right? Now the idea of surrender comes in is that one thing that I'd recommend every young person watching this, because do you know of a mala or a rosary?
Yes.
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Where have you seen it?
I mean, grandparents usually wear it.
No, I'm talking the mala when they're doing the rosary like this. When they
Yeah, meditation.
meditation.
When they do meditation, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So the whole idea of when you talk about the mala, right? Usually we associate that with older people.
Yes.
Right?
I've just done it.
Yeah, we associate that with the
Yeah.
older people, and the younger people
Yeah.
think that this is not for me. Okay.
Yeah.
But I would really recommend every young person to keep a mala. Okay. Keep one at your work desk. Keep one next to your computer. Keep one next to your bed. Okay. A mala is a big help for you. So what you do is that think of any mantra that can be of helpful to you. Okay. So let's say for instance, you can say Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Okay. Or you can say Om Namah Shivaya, or whichever. If you're a Hindu, any god, right? Buddhists will say Om Mani Padme Hum, right? Or if you are a Christian, you can think of a Christian prayer. If you're a Muslim, you can say Allah, 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 right? Any kind of based on anything that goes with your line of thinking and religion, right? But even if you don't want to make it religious, right? You can just think of this as I'm a happy person, I'm a happy person, I'm a happy person, right? Or you can just simply say I am, or you can just say I'm thankful, I'm thankful, I'm thankful, right? Or you can say I'm alive, right? Or you can say that I am bliss. And what you do is that when your mind is going haywire, right? When your ego is at its peak, right? And it's completely disturbed and not able to think. So just take that mala and just say that I'm pure bliss. I'm totally blissful. then your mind is running all around. Go to the next one, say, I'm blissful. And do it, not trying to hurry up, not trying to finish up with full concentration, say on each one. And then your mind is going all over. Take the third one and say, I'm complete bliss. Fourth one is going, I'm complete bliss. Fifth one is going, I'm complete bliss. Okay? Or if you're remembering the name of any god, just say that in each, as you're doing each mala. So you will find that now the problem is that our mind, so when I earlier talked about the idea of being we being two of us, right?
Yeah.
So even though the problem is that we all think that we are a mind, and our mind is like a movie that's continuously running. It's a movie that's constantly in motion. Okay, and when our movie is in motion, we start thinking we are the movie. So the way we have, see, let's say I have my stomach, but I'm not my stomach, or way I have my hand, okay, but I'm not my hand. So similarly, the way I have my mind, I am not my mind. That is something to remember, okay, and that is something that we keep forgetting all the time, okay. And the way to, and our mind likes to live either in the past or in the future, and so we need to bring our mind back to the present moment. So you can do a check simply like by putting your finger under your nose and saying that, can you feel your breath? Can you feel yourself breathing, right? If you can feel, then you're alive, because a lot of people are dead, right? So the moment you bring your mind to your body, right, your mind comes back to the present moment. So by the
yes, and I guess this is what meditation also does exactly to a person.
so meditation does. The only problem with meditation is that when we think of meditation, we think of it as a big word, right? And we need to meditate, we need to make time to meditate, we need to do so that is why it becomes something that you're supposed to do, or people do, or something like that, right? So all I'm trying to do is that I'm trying to say, tell you how simple meditation is, right? So by, and if you just simply try to breathe, right, breathe in, breathe out, you might tend to forget, or it might become difficult a little bit. So you can just take a mala, and if you don't have a mala, you can download a japa app on your phone.
Okay.
Right? So you can have an app on your phone and keep it on the ready thing. So all that you do is that at every count, right, you just simply do any mantra that you're doing, right? So what, and that doesn't, people think of meditation as getting rid of thoughts. You cannot get rid of thoughts. It's very difficult, right? It's only the very, very elevated people will reach a state when they're thoughtless, but otherwise thoughts is something which is there in all the time, right?
Yes, agree, totally agree.
So then what you do is that as you say each of these, if you do it with full concentration, close your eyes and do it, right? You can even do it when your eyes are open, but if it's helpful, you can dim your light, right? But then as you keep doing it, repeat the mantra 1 time, 2 times. And what I find is that even if you do it 20 times, right? You will suddenly start feeling your mind calming down, because your mind is not real, it's an illusion. It's trying to make itself feel important. Okay. And the moment you start coming back to repeating the mantra, and basically you're saying that the mind, fine, be here as long as you want to do your work, I don't care, right? So let the thoughts keep doing what they're doing, but you start repeating the mantra, right? Then after 10, 20, 30, 40, right? Like each one mala is supposed to be 108, but you can do more of those. So as you do that, even if you've not finished one mala, you'll realize that suddenly you start calming down, because you start getting to your true nature, which is not your mind, right? And your true nature is love, but your mind is the one which is trying to assert you at that point in time, making you feel anxious, because the circumstance that's happening is not conducive to what you want, right?
Yes.
And that is making you very, very anxious. So I would say that develop a practice. Now the thing is that what I'm talking about is doing something under stressful situations. Now you cannot do something under stressful situations if you have not done something on a daily basis, right? So do it without stress on a daily basis. So the recommended practice is, of course, to get up in the morning, take a shower, and then do one mala, right? Okay. So after you do your puja and do your mala, right? But I would say that let that not even be a barrier. Even if it's any time of the day, even if you're not showered, even if you're anywhere, just doing the mala, right, basically means that you are going back into remembrance, and our scriptures talk about constant remembrance. Constant remembrance means you're doing this remembrance all the time, not just that one doing the one mala. Okay, and that is what leads to surrender. When you come to that very idea, how to develop bhakti or surrender, right? Because when you do this idea of remembrance, let's say in the morning or at night before going to bed, right? Or any multiple times in the day. But basically, even if you have a slight bit of irritation in your mind, what I'd say, if your mind is even slightly irritated, pick it up right away. Do not dwell in irritation.
Yeah. And it becomes kind of habit for us. Anyway, we are doing it daily on a daily basis, and it would be very easy for us to pick it up and do it
To
at
pick it
any
up,
given time.
but it is a very, very healthy tool for you to live your life in a blissful manner and to take care of
Blissful manner.
those moments when you're not at bliss, where to
Yes.
go through difficult moments, right? And so this will always help you come back to yourself. It will help you get
Yes.
centered. And
Yes.
so of course, any activity you can do it with a state of flow, like, right, if you're learning music or when you're doing like painting or anything, or talking to someone, writing a code, right? Or doing or talking to somebody, right? And that is where it comes with doing a sense of intention. If you do it with a state of flow, right? Do it with full presence, then your whole life becomes a meditation.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. True. That's very true. And in fact, this is also a kind of very interesting tip that professor has given all the students, all the audience of the session. It is kind of meditation as simple as it gets.
Okay.
So that was an enlightening session. This has been an enlightening session. But getting into career aspects now. So for all those students who are just starting out their life in industry, you were also in the industry for 5 to 6 years in technology roles in voice over IP, bioinformatics, and digitals in my industries. Now in academia, seeing the research scholars debating all sorts of topics, including cutting edge technology topics, and in other areas, how does it feel? I mean, what's the difference between university or academia and the industry? Because this is an important thing for all those students who are just starting out.
The big difference that I found in the industry and academia, I think, is so work is there. There's constant work, right? No matter where you go. Okay. So again, the central theme of work will never go away. As long as you're alive, there'll be, you call it karma, you call it work, it's there with you all the time. So that will not go away. But the purpose of why you do it, I think that differs. So when you talk about the industry, right, a lot of it is for profit. So when it's corporate and for profit, right, people are doing it for the profit. And when you do things when you're doing things for the profit, then what happens is that a client has a certain product, right? And then so in the teams that I worked in, you had to develop a product for a client, right? And then you're working on it. Now a competitor comes up with a similar product. Now suddenly you have to ramp up and work really hard to try and beat the competitor, right? And you keep doing that. And if you're a software engineer, for instance, then all the code that you write, your name is just in a small name somewhere deeper inside your code, right? I think in a way it's a good exercise of killing your ego, in a way. So, but you have, so your name is nowhere in the product, nothing. But then what ends up happening is that the people who are the founders of the company, they take the product, they sell it, they make all the money, and you're given a salary, and then you meet, and you basically become like a term is called, I think, bandhwa mazdoor, in a way. You're bonded laborer in a certain sense, right? And you are there, you're doing it. It's more like, it's like a darji shop, like a tailor shop, and Diwali is coming, and you want to have somebody will say that, okay, I need that I need all these clothes done within a day. And the person says, no, we have a lot of orders right now. I cannot do it, right? To the tailor will tell you. Then so you say, no, please do it, because I need it within 2 days because the festival is there, or I need to go to a wedding. Then he says, okay, fine, I'll get you to do it. So if you are the tailor, the masterji will say, okay, Neeraj, now we need to work at night as well, because we got an extra order, okay? Or if you're not there, then they will go and hire somebody for that two extra tailors to buy. to do that work. So the person who is the tailor is your project manager, and the person who is the darji, who's doing the active sewing, is your software engineer. Right?
Yeah.
So this is the
Got
constant thing in software engineering, like in the corporate world
Yes.
that I found.
Yes.
And versus in academia, in the university, like the life of a professor has three aspects to it. So it's called one is teach. So people think that a professor teaches, right? Which is true, but teaching is only 1/3 of a professor's life, professor's duties. Okay, so 1/3 is your teaching. The other 2/3, second part of your 1/3 is your research and writing that you do, and the third 1/3 is your service work that you do. Okay, so
What sort of service work?
so service work will be basically, there are 3 levels of service, 4 levels actually. Service to your department in the university. You're supposed to take on leadership roles, attend various meetings, and you're a part of, let's say, developing the courses and curriculum, or you're a part of evaluating other professors, or you're so there are lots of different tasks that you do, a technology committee, this like that. So there are those committees that you're a part of, and then you'll have them at the college level, university level as well, different committees.
Yeah.
And then you are also expected to be a professional in a professional association. Okay, so the association that I'm a part of, which is Association for Information Science and Technology, that is a 85-year-old association of people in my field, and it's a very, very large association. So I took on in the last since 2008, right? I've taken on various leadership roles in the president. So I was president until recently, and now I'm the past president of that. So that is, again, that counts as service in the university. So the service to the school, service to college, service to the university, service to the profession, and then also community service. You can do volunteering and social work outside. So that is, all of that is service. And then research is that whatever area interests you, it's philosophy, religion, VLSI, any topic, right, interests you, you try and find out what's happening, what has happened until now, think of one question of something that's not happened, some gap in the research and writing, and then start investigating that gap, conduct research in terms of gather data. So do interviews or surveys or some data, and then try to further the argument in terms of writing. And that's a very difficult process, because when you submit something, right, then people you submit something to a journal, and they will get back to you with no changes, minor changes, major changes, or reject. So most of the time it's either reject or major changes, or sometimes minor changes. And that process takes like about 3 to 6 months, and it can be 2 years or something typically when you publish, right? So that is why, let's say if I have 60 publications, so it has taken a long period of time to go through this entire process of peer review to publish this. Like one of my papers actually took 15 years. I started in 2006 and it got accepted in 2021, published in 2022.
Oh, crap.
So it's a very longer term thing, the whole publishing part, but it's something that that is like important, and it's bigger than writing a book, because in a book, if you have a publisher, if you self-publish, right, as soon as you write something, it can be published. But in this one goes through peer review, which means that other people can reject your work all the time. Even though even writing a book as well, a publisher can reject it, but in research, it is much more difficult. So here, so then you have so your research, your service, and your teaching. These are the 3 aspects of your life. And when I was hired in 2009 by Simmons University, right, it was Simmons College then, I was hired for 6 years. So basically it's called working for tenure or tenure stream. Okay, so as per my university policy, and which is a common policy in all of the places, there were 3 expectations. So one is that in your teaching, you had to be excellent. Okay, so there were 3 levels: excellent, excellent, strong, and not strong. Okay, so in your teaching, in order to get tenure, so the idea is that if you get tenure, then at the whatever you do in 5-year period, it will undergo a review in the 6th year. If you get tenure, then you go from assistant professor to associate professor, and then you keep a job for life. But if you don't get tenure, then you are chucked from the job. You have to leave the job in 6 years. Okay, so you have to leave the university. So for that tenure, in your teaching, you have to be excellent, and in your research, you have to, between research and service, in one of the 2, you have to be excellent as well. And in one you can be strong. If you're not strong in any one of them, then you don't get tenure. And if you're not excellent in teaching, you don't get tenure. So then there are criteria as to how to establish excellence. So in teaching excellence, your students will write evaluations for you, and then your other people will come and observe your teachings. You'll also write your own reflections for teaching. All of those goes into various ways for establishing excellence in teaching. And for your research, again, how many papers you publish, how many journal articles you are able to publish within that 5-year, 6-year period, and then what kind of, the more difficult a place to get into, having it published there counts more. So if you publish in easy to publish places, then it doesn't count as much.
Yeah.
So the acceptance rate, basically the higher the rejection rate of something, the better your publication in that place is. So all of these, so that is the, so then I got my tenure in 2015 after 6 years. And then in this year, I also, in 2022, I also became a full professor. So for another 6-year period, I chose to then do the same process again for another 6 years.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So this is so it's a different process, but I feel that compared to the industry, you at least have assurance of 5 years, right? In industry, you typically don't have assurance of more than 1 or 2 years.
Yeah.
So, but of course,
so
yeah, industry also, like university is also going through a difficult time right now in the post-COVID situation, because
yes,
students,
exactly.
Enrollments are going down, and a lot of students are not returning back to universities. That people are taking online courses and thinking that, if I'm getting this thing online, why do I need to go to a campus?
Yes.
Right? So a lot of those questions are coming in. So life is anyway, and people are also very tired after COVID, because people have seen people die, and people also gotten used to working from home, and so there's a lot of churning that's going on right now every year. Yeah, so I think there are major differences between industry and academia, but I think as long as, but I feel you have slightly more control over what you do, because you're expected to do research and you're expected to publish, but you have a lot of leeway as to what research question do you study. You have a lot big width as to, like, that what
that is there,
and that gives you the freedom.
Yes. Okay. And that's actually an advantage as well when you choose research.
That's an advantage. The only thing is that your salary might be lower than what you might earn in the industry.
But as long as your interest lies in it, then
if your interest lies in it,
doesn't matter.
Then you have to think about how much money is enough for me. If you think that's having this is enough for me, I could earn more if I'm outside, but I'll also lose my peace of mind. Here I can keep my peace of mind and still earn and make my living. Then that's where you decide, right?
That's the best thing. Yeah. Got it. So we're almost at the end of the session now. Just wanted to ask this question about VLSI for All. So what do you think about VLSI for All and the work that it is doing?
I think this will be a question for you, because what is the work that you all do? Tell me that first.
I mean, this is the best example. This session is the best example, let's say, enlightening young minds at the right time so that they live their lives happily.
Thank you. Yeah, so
that's what we are doing.
I think what you are trying to do is you're trying to guide students towards their career, right? And helping them prepare. For jobs and for career, and you're also inviting experts from different fields to come talk to the students to help them. So I think it is a lot of work, and it is a continuous work, right?
Yeah, and continuous.
Even when you do these videos, and there is the video editing and setting up meetings and editing and all of that, right? And I would again say that you're doing great work, but think about how to do it without pressure.
Without pressure.
Okay, if you are passing on pressure to each other or stress to each other, then try to find ways to minimize that. Okay, it may not be possible to get rid of stress all the time, but recognizing where stress is coming from, and if it is real or artificial. If it is self-imposed artificial stress, right, then do it minimizing that, and there's a lot of attachment given to hard work, but I would say that do not do a lot of hard work like a frog flapping in one place.
Okay.
Like you have to sometimes, so you have to redirect that where is the work required and where you have to
Yes.
where you have to work hard, where not to work hard, right?
Keep our progress in mind.
Yeah. So a lot of the times, so one of my messages, which is very contrary to a lot of other people, is to get into this idea of non-doing in a world of productivity culture,
Okay.
right? So not doing
Yeah.
has a lot of value.
Okay, great.
Okay. So when you think of non-doing, I think then that will lead you to think of what really matters, and then
Yes, yes.
focus your
Yeah,
energies towards that what matters.
yeah. That leads to, yeah, that kind of thinking also leads to what should be done in what way. Yeah,
Or should we
I
do
get it.
in what way? Yeah. And yeah, so there's also this exercise called a big rocks exercise, which is also like if you take a bottle and take big pieces of rock, and if you take small pieces of rock, and if you take
Yes,
sand and you
get it.
fill it, right?
Yeah,
So a lot of the
yeah,
emails and a lot of a lot of the interaction we do are the small pieces, things which you need to get
yes,
done, but not the most important. So
yes,
looking, the big rocks will give you like the big abstract picture as to what really matters in your life. What is it that you want to achieve? Knowing that you have uh, not even achieve, to finish, I would say, to accomplish, so that when you are about to die, right, you don't have any regrets, saying that I wanted to
yeah,
do this. At least I did those things that were most important to me.
yes. And that actually, that's again, that that's not just for VLSA for all. What Professor has just said now, it applies to every one of us. Like, I mean, we should do the things by keeping our progress in mind and also trying to be productive, but not stressful.
But not, yeah, not stressed. Yeah. Yeah. Basically, in Hindi, if I would say, it's like tension dene ka nahi or lene ka nahi.
Yeah,
Right? Don't take
that's
stress and
very
don't give
simple.
stress. Yeah.
As simple as that.
Yeah.
So, thank you, sir, for joining us. Thank you once again. This has been outstanding session and enlightening all throughout the time that I was speaking with you and you are speaking to with your audience. And that should actually help students in a fundamental manner to bring about good change to their careers. I mean, whichever aspect of life they are thinking about, the words that you said in this session will help students definitely if they carefully watch the session. And in fact, I should again go back and watch this session once again because there were a lot of, lots of learnings that I could not grasp within the session. Although there were a lot of learnings that I could grasp and I realized with this session, but there should be some of those things which I couldn't grasp, and I should definitely go back and watch this session again.
Thank you.
So yes, sir. So we are
Thank you,
very
Neeraj.
grateful. Yeah,
And if you have questions, you can always talk to me, and also the people who are watching this can
yeah,
also contact me and
yeah,
reach me. So yeah, I'm happy to talk to people and help in any way I can.
yeah. I mean, we will be sharing your LinkedIn profile, and as well, I guess you're also on Twitter and Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
Instagram.
So we'll all okay. So we'll share all those profiles with our posts so that anybody can easily contact you and get your advice as well.
Thank you,
Uh,
Neeraj. Yeah,
yes. And again, I mean, VLSA for all will forever be grateful for you, sir, for this enlightening session
thank you
for
so much,
students.
Neeraj. I really enjoyed talking to you, and thank you so much for thinking of me.
Yeah. I just want to end the session with this advice for all those people who know about Naresh. He says, life is such a beautiful teacher that no matter where we are and what religion we follow, we keep arriving at the same of some of the same conclusions again and again. The moment I think that I know, life teaches me something and tells me that I don't know. What I've realized is that our human life is all about connection. What we see around us is a mirror of who we are. We get anxious or sad or depressed when we are not disconnected. When we hold a grudge against someone, not only are we angry at the other person, we are angry at ourselves as well. When we forgive, we reconnect with ourselves and feel the peace. I find us versus them deeply troubling because by advocating that, we are creating unhappy people. It is only when us and them merged into one that we can truly connect with ourselves and find the peace as a people. And this is what exactly resonates basically with what you've said in the session. I mean, this is kind of a summary that I can give
Thank
you
you. Yes.
of this session, and this has been exactly put in your biography. So, audience, all the audience, for your information, we'll also be sharing synthesizing contradictions, a short biography of Professor Naresh Agarwal, and that would definitely help them as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Neeraj.
Yes, sir. So,
Thank you.
thank you, sir. Have a good day.
Thank you so much, Neeraj. Me.
And all the audience, thank you for joining us for this session. In fact, you should be thankful for us, to us, for having this session with Professor, because I mean, this session was outstanding. We'll be back with yet another interviews with experts on VLSF role. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Don't leave me high and dry. Baby, you get me out there fine. You're channeling wind and rain. You're some kind of butterfly. Baby, you give me midnight. You whip up my appetite. Don't leave me here high and dry. Oh.